to Barca News. It is February 17th, 2026, and Lamine Yamal has filed 31 lawsuits. I'm going to tell you what these lawsuits are all about. Also, Barcelona have finalized the signing of an English Wonderkid. And finally, speaking of English players, Manchester United will not budge. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and I'm bringing you this short live stream because, well, today I had to work late, so I ran out of time to film, edit, and post. So instead, I'm doing a short live to bring you all Barcelona news since I don't have to, well, edit and post or film. I can just do the live. It's much quicker. This is not a podcast, of course, so I won't be addressed in the comment section, but tomorrow, Wednesday, is podcast day, so make sure you tune into the podcast if you do want to share your comments with me. Anyways, let's dive right into the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Lamine Yamal has filed 31 lawsuits. Now, what are these lawsuits about? I mentioned in a previous video that, in case you missed, it was titled Madrid Media Are Garbage, but in that video, I broke to you a story where Ansu Fati's brother, Fatinho Jr., was arrested for alleged sexual assault. It looks like Fatinho was out partying, and while he was partying with his friends, he met a Dutch tourist that was visiting the city of Barcelona. Afterwards, they went to a house during which this Dutch tourist alleges that she was drugged and she was awakened because she was being touched inappropriately by Fatinho Jr., and Fatinho got arrested. And well, the news story broke out, and in that news story, the Madrid-based media ABC outlet reported that this alleged sexual assault had happened at Lamine Yamal's house. Well, immediately after that story broke, the police, Barcelona police, the Catalan police who had arrested Fatinho, came out and said, no. This rape or this alleged sexual assault did not happen at Lamine Yamal's house. It happened somewhere else. In fact, it has nothing to do with Lamine Yamal. Now, despite this, despite the police making it clear that this sexual assault had nothing to do with Lamine or his home or anyone else except Fatinho, who's Ansu Fati's brother, it didn't stop Madrid-based media to continue to try to link this sexual assault to Lamine Yamal. For example, during this, while these media outlets were talking about about this alleged sexual assault, they kept showing pictures of Lamine Yamal, which made absolutely no sense. Now, these are some of the screenshots that I personally took from these channels. Now, I only did 3 screenshots, but there were dozens of pictures of Lamine Yamal that were constantly being shown one after another as these reporters, so-called reporters, talked about this sexual assault. Now, the crazy part is that why are they showing Lamine Yamal's picture? He had nothing to do with this. You know, it would make a little bit more sense had they showed pictures of Ansu Fati, even though it still wouldn't make sense because it's not Ansu Fati who's being accused of this. It's his brother. But it even makes less sense when they're showing pictures of Lamine, who, again, has nothing to do with this. This is like me making a video about P. Diddy's sexual allegations, and while I'm doing this video, I show you pictures of Mbappe. Why would I do that? It makes no sense. Well, it didn't stop these reporters of showing Lamine Yamal's pictures, and while it seems that, even though Lamine Yamal usually doesn't care about the media going after him, this time around, he did care. And people close to him even quoted him saying, "Esto que mierda es," which means, what kind of shit is this? Now, Lamine Yamal wasn't even in the city of Barcelona when this alleged sexual assault happened, and when he saw these media outlets trying to pin it on him, even though he has absolutely nothing to do with this, he got really upset. Again, even though he usually doesn't get upset about the media being the kind of clown media that they are in Spain and trying to, destroy his image because they know he will be a thorn in Madrid's side for the next 10 to 20 years. But this time, it was different. This time, this really pissed off Lamine Yamal. He instructed his lawyers to act, and that's exactly what happened. His lawyers have sent 31 different legal complaints against reporters and members of the press who, participated in this disgusting, abhorrent, awful campaign to try to pin Lamine Yamal or connect Lamine Yamal to a sexual assault case that he has absolutely nothing to do with, simply because Florentino Perez runs these media outlets, and well, these lapdogs have to act according to their own master, and they have to try to destroy the image of a player who they know will be a thorn in the side of Real Madrid. So I'm very, very glad that Lamine Yamal is doing this. In fact, when I reported about this, I said, I really hope Lamine Yamal sues these disgusting and piece of shit media outlets into oblivion. And that's exactly what Lamine has done. And I truly hope he wins, because people need to learn that actions have consequences. And well, this is the first step in that lesson. Anyway, speaking of Lamine Yamal, it's been revealed that, ladies and gentlemen, Lamine Yamal played against Girona with a fever. Now, during a post-match live analysis, I said Lamine Yamal looked like he was without energy, that he was tired, he was exhausted, and as such, he had a horrendous match. He was a terrible match. In fact, I don't even know why he took the penalty kick. It should have been Rafinha. And people said, Mo, what are you talking about? You're just defending Lamine, blah, 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 blah. Well, lo and behold, it's been confirmed that Lamine Yamal actually played that match with fever. So I guess he was without energy. It's not that I'm just defending Lamine Yamal or I'm being crazy. Apparently, Lamine Yamal played with a fever. I even had someone comment, be like, I would take Rafinha over Lamine any day. I was like, all right, cool. Nobody asked you to pick one or the other, but sure, whatever. What do you, boo-boo? Do you, boo-boo? But anyways, just know that Lamine Yamal played with a fever against Girona, which of course explains his underperformance. Of course, he wasn't the only one that underperformed that day. Well, the whole team was absolute shit, for the exception of a few players like Joan Garcia, Eric Garcia, and Rafinha. Anyways, on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have finalized the signing of an English Wonderkid, someone I've told you all about in previous videos. It's no other than AJ Tabares. Now, as you know, Deco and Joao Amaral have been incredibly active and busy during this winter transfer market, securing the signings of several young promising players. They signed Hamza Abdelkarim, the Egyptian center forward. They signed Patricio Pacifico, the Uruguayan left back, who can also play as a center back. And they signed, of course, Juventus Einstein, is he Dutch? Yeah, Dutch center back. And nonetheless, they kept working on summer signings. Of course, they were working on the signing of Ruud Nijstad, who Barcelona have decided to walk away from because it's going to cost too much. But nonetheless, they were still finalizing the signings of AJ Tabares and Jesse BC Wu. And well, now it's being reported that AJ Tabares' signing is fully complete. Now, AJ Tabares is a 16-year-old English left winger. He is described as a skillful and a winger who has lots of potential, one of the most promising players currently in England. Thankfully, he does have a Portuguese passport. Now, if you're wondering why is that good, it's because obviously, as we know, Great Britain is no longer part of the EU. So had AJ Tabares if AJ Tabares only had an English passport, or a British passport, I should say, he would only be allowed to sign for Barcelona if he was 18 years or older. Remember, if you're going to sign a player from outside the European Union, they have to be 18 or older. But because he does have a Portuguese passport, and Portugal is part of the EU or the European Union, he can sign for Barcelona despite being under 18 years old. And well, that's exactly what has happened. Barcelona have signed AJ Tabares. They have completed his signing, and now they are awaiting FIFA's approval. Now, if you're wondering why does FIFA have to approve this, because again, he is underage, and when a player is underage, whichever club is signing him, they need the approval of FIFA, and that's what Barcelona are awaiting. But just know that everything is done to sign AJ Tabares, again, one of the most promising English players. Now, speaking of English players, we will end today's video with the news regarding Marcus Rashford, because, ladies and gentlemen, Manchester United will not budge. Now, what am I referring to? Well, what I'm talking about is that, of course, as you know, Rashford is on loan with Barcelona until the end of the season. He has an option to buy worth 30 million euros, which Barcelona have decided to activate. They want to sign Marcus Rashford on a permanent basis. However, they were trying to negotiate that option to buy down. They're trying to pay less. But Manchester United have informed Barcelona that they have absolutely no intention of renegotiating that option to buy. They will not entertain any offers below the 30 million euro option to buy that Rashford has in his contract. In other words, Barcelona, if you want to sign Rashford, you either pay the 30 mil or you don't get him. Now, Rashford does want to stay at Barcelona, so that kind of does give Barcelona some leverage. However, as you know, Manchester United do have a new coach, Michael Carrick, and Michael Carrick actually wants Rashford as opposed to their former coach, Ruben Amorim, who didn't want anything with Rashford. And this, of course, changes the landscape of things because previously when it was Ruben Amorim, he was like, I don't want Rashford. I don't want to see him. I don't want to know anything about him. So there, Barcelona had more leverage because they could have been like, yo, I don't want to pay 30 mil. I want to pay 20. And you would have been like, well, too bad. You can have him for 20. Barcelona would have been like, okay, good luck then. He's going to go back to you, and you're going to have a player who the coach, Ruben Amorim, doesn't want. Now things are changing, right? Now Barcelona could be like, I pay you 20. Manu's like 30 or nothing. And Barcelona's like, all right, well, too bad. Then Rashford's going to go back to you. Manu will like, all right, great. Michael Carrick wants him, right? This definitely changed things. But just know that if Barcelona are going to sign Rashford, it's 30 mil or bust. Anyways, that is all the news. Again, I went live a few moments ago. If you haven't seen that yet, make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Barça.